Hello, so in this video we're going to work on setting up the ODOT field code list to work with our new FRT file and our TIW file that's going to allow us to bring this data directly into OpenRoads Designer. So this is the step that you would take after you already have the Ohio DOT field code list imported into your data collector. If you haven't done that before, you can download that off of our website, and under your settings, tools, transfer user objects, you can select your code list and transfer that code list from your SD card to your internal memory. And when you do that, it'll go ahead and have that code list in there. I already happen to have the code list inside my virtual data collector here, so we'll go ahead and transfer that back in. So now that you have the ODOT field code list inside your data collector, we need to set up a few settings in order to make our FRT file work in importing it into OpenRoads Designer. So to do this, we're going to go into our settings, customization, and coding. The first thing that we're going to go through is updating our code and attribute settings, and then we'll go into the line work settings after that. So the first setting that we're going to have is our coding functionality, and we're going to have that set to create line work. We're going to have the next three boxes unchecked, so we don't want to allow new codes. We want to use the ODOT field code list. We don't want to show the code description alongside the code, and then we don't want to allow codes to be coded independently of our points. The next settings are more of a personal preference. If you want to suggest attribute values based off of your last used, or if you want to prompt for mandatory attributes, you can go ahead and set that as you would like to. Depending on the version of Captivate you have, you might also have a setting called automatically search the code list when entering a free code. If you want to have that checked on, that's also a personal preference as well. We're going to leave multi-coding turned on after storing a point unchecked, and we're going to go ahead and go to page and get into our line work settings. So this is where the bulk of the changes are going to need to happen. So with the way that we have our survey settings set up inside of the OHDOT CAD workspace, we use a couple different characters to have for begin lines and arcs as well. So we're going to have quite a few blanks because we don't necessarily use all of these within our CAD standards, though these are things that you can turn on if you wanted to and make edits to the settings, our survey settings, upon import. So the first thing we're going to do is the begin line field here, and we're going to be using a space BL asterisk is what our field code is going to be. So what it's going to end up doing is having our field code, the code list that we have. It's going to be the code with a space, BL asterisk. That's going to be what we use for our linking codes, and that's how OpenRoads Designer is going to create those features inside the file. Now for our continuous line, we're going to just leave this as a space. And our close line, we're going to do a space CL asterisk, and that'll close our line inside OpenRoads Designer. The next thing we're going to have is begin a three-point arc, and that we're going to use a space OC asterisk. And then for our continue three-point arc, we're just going to go ahead and add a space into that field. The rectangles we also do not use, so we're going to go ahead and just have a space there for our three-point rectangles. And the same thing with our two-point circles. We're just going to have a space in each of these fields, so they end up being left blank essentially with that space being there. Going down a little bit further, our next thing we're going to have is our three-point circle. Those are also going to be spaces. And now when we go to a best fit arc, we're going to do a space OC asterisk. Our continuous best fit arc we're going to have as a space. And then our end best fit arc is going to be a space OC asterisk. Also for the spline, we're going to have a space OC asterisk. Continuous is going to be just a space, and our end spline is going to be space OC asterisk. So just to recap really quickly what our line work is, we're going to do a begin line that's going to be a space BL asterisk. We're going to close that line with a space CL asterisk. And our arcs, our splines, are all going to use this this toggle, this OC, the space OC asterisk code after our linking code, after our code. So now that we have all of these set up, we can just click OK and go ahead and move on with the rest of our settings. So now that we have all of those settings set up, we can go ahead and move into exporting our data. So inside our project, we can just go ahead and select our Leica DBX or our project here, and we can hit our export data. And we're going to use the ASCII format file menu. Now that we have our OHDOT Leica FRT file already stored into our settings, we can go ahead and have this transfer from our device to our data folder, and we can output that as whatever file format we want there. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the defaults, and then you'll just click OK. And that's going to export your data out, and you'll be able to utilize that inside OpenRoads Designer.